The rope snapped like a gunshot in the thin mountain air, sending Alex tumbling backward into the void, his fingers clawing at nothing but loose gravel and regret. Below him, the jagged rocks of the Colorado Rockies waited like old grudges, indifferent to the secrets he'd buried for years. Jake's scream echoed off the cliffs. "Alex!" A sound that cracked open the fragile dam, holding back everything Alex had never dared to say. Alex had always known that loving Jake was like chasing a shadow up a mountain. Exhilarating in the pursuit, devastating when you realized it would never turn solid under your feet. They'd been best friends since freshman year at the University of Colorado in Boulder, bonded over late-night cram sessions for organic chemistry and pickup basketball games where Jake's effortless athleticism left Alex both in awe and quietly aching. Jake, with his easy grin and sun-bleached hair, was the kind of guy who made straight seem like the only direction worth going. Captain of the intramural soccer team, perpetual wingman at frat parties, and now, at 25, a rising software engineer in Denver with a string of casual girlfriends who never quite stuck. Alex, on the other hand, was the quiet architect of their duo. The one who planned the road trips, mapped the hikes, and kept the playlists rotating between indie folk and classic rock. He was out to everyone but Jake. Not out of fear exactly, but because some truths felt too heavy to drop on a friendship this pure. In the sprawling, sun-soaked suburbs of Aurora where they'd grown up, Alex had come to terms with his queerness in high school, navigating hookups and heartbreaks in the glow of Denver's underground scene. But Jake was the constant, the straight arrow anchor in a world that spun too fast. It was Jake who suggested the trip, of course. "Man, we need to get out of this concrete jungle," he'd said over beers at their favorite dive bar, the one with the neon Coors sign flickering like a heartbeat. "Remember that trail in Rocky Mountain National Park? The one with the alpine lakes? Let's do it. Just us, no distractions. Recharge the batteries before I start that new job in the city." Alex had nodded, his throat tight, because saying yes to Jake was as automatic as breathing. They'd packed light, tents, sleeping bags, a cooler of IPAs, and enough freeze-dried meals to survive a zombie apocalypse. The drive up from Denver had been a blur of laughter and old stories. Jake recounting his latest blind date disaster, Alex teasing him about his impeccable taste in bad rom-coms. By the time they hit the trailhead at Bear Lake, the autumn aspens were a riot of gold and crimson, the air crisp with the promise of elevation and escape. The first day was pure magic, the kind that made Alex forget the knot in his chest. They hiked the Emerald Lake Trail at a leisurely pace, Jake bounding ahead like a golden retriever off-leash, while Alex savored the burn in his calves and the way the sunlight dappled through the pines. "Dude, this is what life's about," Jake called back, pausing to snap a selfie with the glassy water reflecting the peaks behind him. Alex joined him, their shoulders brushing in that casual way that sent a forbidden spark through him. He forced a laugh, angling the phone to capture them both. Two guys against the wilderness, unbreakable. That night, camped under a sky bruised with stars, they cracked open the beers and let the fire do the talking. Jake sprawled out on his sleeping bag, elbows propped behind his head, staring up at the Milky Way. "You ever think about how small we are out here?" he mused, his voice soft against the crackle of flames. "Like, all our bullshit back home. Jobs, dates, whatever. It's nothing. Just noise." Alex poked at the embers with a stick, watching sparks dance like fleeting confessions. "Yeah, out here it's just real." He wanted to say more, to bridge the gap between Jake's words and the ache in his own heart, but he swallowed it down with a swig of IPA. Instead, they talked about dreams. Jake's vague plans for a house in the foothills someday, with a yard for barbecues and maybe a dog. Alex's sketches for sustainable builds, tiny homes that hugged the earth without bruising it. It was easy, this rhythm they'd perfected over a decade. Jake the dreamer, Alex the builder. But as the fire died to coals, Jake's tone shifted, laced with that rare vulnerability he only unleashed in the dark. "Hey, Alex, you got someone special waiting back in Boulder? I mean, you're always so put together. Girls must be lining up." The question landed like a stone in still water. Alex's pulse hammered, the lie forming before he could stop it. "Nah, man. Too busy with work. You know me, married to the drafting table. He forced a chuckle, but it came out hollow, echoing the canyon of unspoken truths between them. Jake rolled onto his side, eyes glinting in the low light. Bullshit. You're a catch. Whoever she is, she's missing out. He punched Alex's arm lightly, the contact lingering a beat too long. Or maybe that was just Alex's imagination starving for more. Sleep came fitfully after that, the wind whispering through the spruces like a warning. Alex dreamed of cliffs and confessions, of Jake's hand reaching out not as a friend, but as something deeper, something that could shatter them both. Day 2 dawned with a challenge. The keyhole route up Long's Peak, a 14-mile beast that promised exposure and exhilaration. Jake was all in, his eyes lit with that boyish fire Alex adored and dreaded. Come on, bro. We've trained for this. No backing out now. They started at dawn, the trail winding through subalpine meadows before steepening into a staircase of stone. Conversation flowed in bursts. Jokes about their college hangovers, debates over the best burger joint in Fort Collins, punctuated by the rhythm of boots on rock. By midday, they hit the keyhole, a dramatic notch in the ridge where the world dropped away on both sides. The air thinned, each breath a reminder of their fragility. Careful here, Alex said, clipping into the fixed ropes as they traversed the ledge. The rock face bulged outward, a sheer wall plummeting 1,000 feet to the valley floor. Jake went first, his climber's build making it look effortless, calling back encouragements like a coach. Alex followed, heart pounding not just from the height, but from the proximity. The way Jake's voice anchored him, a lifeline in more ways than one. They summit by early afternoon, the Continental Divide sprawling beneath them like a rumpled quilt of green and gray. Jake hooped, pulling Alex into a bear hug that squeezed the air from his lungs. We did it. Look at this view, man. It's ours. For a moment, suspended in sweat and triumph, Alex let himself imagine it. Not just the peak, but everything. Jake's arms around him, solid and warm, the wind carrying away the weight of pretense. But then Jake pulled back, clapping him on the back. Race you to the bottom? Loser buys the victory stakes. The descent started strong, gravity their ally as they scrambled down the north face. But as they hit the ledges, a narrow, airy traverse with cables for handholds, fatigue crept in. Jake, ever the daredevil, pushed the pace, joking about how he'd own Alex in their imaginary rematch. Alex laughed, but his focus wavered, eyes lingering on the flex of Jake's shoulders under his pack. That's when it happened. A loose pebble, the kind that blended with the granite like a traitor's whisper. Jake's boot caught it mid-stride, his weight shifting forward into empty space. He windmilled, a curse ripping from his throat, and for one eternal second, Alex saw the end. His friend gone, tumbling into the abyss, taking half of Alex's soul with him. Without thinking, Alex lunged, grabbing Jake's harness loop with both hands. The jolt yanked him forward, his own feet slipping on the scree. The rope between them, thank God they'd belayed for this section, held, but barely, fraying against a sharp outcrop as Alex's body weight pulled them both toward the edge. Gravel rained down, a deadly cascade, and Jake's full weight swung like a pendulum, slamming Alex's shoulder into the rock. Time fractured, Alex's vision blurred with pain and adrenaline, his fingers burning white-knuckled on the harness. Hold on, he gasped, but his voice was lost in the roar of his pulse. Jake's face, inches from his, was a mask of shock. Eyes wide, mouth slack, the color drained to ashen fear. With a guttural yell, Alex heaved, muscles screaming, hauling Jake back inch by agonizing inch. His boots scraped for purchase, one slipping off the ledge entirely, dangling over nothing. The rope sang with strain, fibers popping like gunfire. And then, with a final, desperate surge, Jake's hand found the cable, pulling himself up. Together, they collapsed against the wall, chests heaving, the mountain's vast indifference pressing in. Jesus, Alex, Jake wheezed, his hand clamping Alex's forearm like a vice. You saved my life. Alex could only nod, the world spinning back into focus. Blood trickled from a gash on his palm, warm and sticky, but it was nothing compared to the flood inside him. The terror of almost losing Jake, the raw surge of love that had propelled him forward. He met Jake's gaze, and for the first time, he wondered if the other man saw it. The hidden current running beneath their friendship, exposed now in the sweat and stone. But Jake just exhaled shakily, clapping Alex's back again. "Oh, you big time, brother. Let's get the hell off this thing." As they rappelled down, the silence between them thickened, heavy with what-ifs and unsaid words. Alex bandaged his hand at the next rest stop, the sting a pale echo of the deeper wound reopening in his chest. The misstep had been Jake's, but the fall, the real one, felt like Alex's. The trail back to base camp felt longer than the climb, each step a negotiation with gravity and ghosts. Jake walked a little slower now, his usual swagger tempered by the brush with mortality. He kept stealing glances at Alex, like he was checking for cracks in the armor, but said nothing about the save. Instead, he filled the air with chatter, recounting near misses from his rock-climbing days in Joshua Tree, how he'd once slipped on a wet slab and owed his life to a stranger's belay. "Karma's a trip, huh?" he said, forcing a grin. "Guess it's my turn to play hero next time." Alex nodded, his shoulder throbbing where it had slammed the rock, but the physical ache was a distraction from the emotional one gnawing deeper. That lunge, that instinctive grab, it hadn't just been friendship. It was the kind of fierce, all-in protectiveness that came from loving someone who'd never love you back the same way. He'd replayed it in his mind a dozen times already. Jake's eyes locking on his, the brief, electric vulnerability. Had there been a flicker of something more? Or was Alex just projecting, weaving hope from the threads of desperation? They made camp by dusk at a sheltered hollow near Mills Lake, the water a mirror for the alpenglow painting the peaks in pinks and purples. Jake insisted on cooking, waving off Alex's protests as he fired up the camp stove. "You did the heavy lifting up there. Least I can do is not poison us with my chili." It was a peace offering, wrapped in humor, and Alex accepted it, sinking onto a log with his sketchpad. He drew absent-mindedly, the curve of the lake, the silhouette of Hallett Peak, but his pencil kept drifting to outlines that echoed Jake. Broad shoulders against the horizon, a jawline sharp as shale. Over steaming bowls of beans and cornbread mix, the conversation meandered to safer ground. Their high school days, the time they'd snuck into Red Rocks Amphitheater for a midnight concert, hearts pounding with the bass. Jake laughed, recounting how Alex had tripped over a root and face-planted into a bush. "You popped up covered in leaves, looking like a damn Sasquatch. Best wingman fail ever." Alex chuckled, but the memory stung now. How Jake had dusted him off, their hands brushing, and Alex had felt that first illicit spark. "Yeah. Well, you were too busy flirting with that girl from the merch stand to notice." Jake's laugh faded, his fork pausing mid-air. "Flirting. God, I was such an idiot back then, chasing everything that moved, thinking it'd fill the hole." He stared into the fire, the flames carving shadows across his face. "You know, my folks are on me again about settling down. Mom sent me a link to some dating app last week. Find a nice girl, Jake. Start a family. Like it's that simple." Alex's chest tightened, the words a reminder of the chasm between them. Jake's world was straight lines. Picket fences, 2.5 kids. The American dream scripted in cul-de-sacs and Sunday barbecues. Alex's was angles and ambiguities, blueprints for lives that didn't fit the mold. "And what do you want?" he asked quietly, the question bolder than he'd intended. Jake shrugged, poking at the coals. "Hell if I know. Stability, I guess. Someone who gets me, you know? Like you do." He looked up then, eyes steady, and Alex's breath caught. There it was again, that unguarded gaze like Jake was seeing him for the first time. "You're the only one who's ever really had my back, Alex. No questions, no judgments. Makes a guy wonder why he wastes time on anyone else." The words hung there, a bridge half-built. Alex's pulse thrummed, temptation coiling like smoke. He could cross it, spill everything, lay bare the years of stolen glances and silent yearnings. But fear clamped down, cold as the mountain stream. What if it broke them? What if Jake recoiled, the friendship fracturing like that rope under strain? Instead, he deflected. Flattery will get you extra marshmallows. He tossed the bag over, and Jake caught it with a grin, the moment dissolving into easy banter. But as they zipped into their tents, the what-ifs followed Alex into sleep, dreams tangled with ledges and lost chances. Morning brought rain, a steady patter that turned the trail to mud. They broke camp in foul moods, ponchos flapping like defeated sails. "This is bullshit," Jake griped, slinging his pack higher. "Thought we were getting epic weather." Alex scanned the sky, gray as regret. Forecast said possible showers. "We can tough it out or bail to the Trailhead Cafe." "Nah, we're committed now." Jake's jaw set, that stubborn streak kicking in, the same one that had pushed them through finals week on Red Bull and Spite. The downpour intensified as they descended toward the lock, water sheeting off rocks in miniature waterfalls. Visibility dropped, the path narrowing to a slick ribbon flanked by drop-offs. Jake slipped first, a controlled slide that ended in a crouch, cursing creatively. Alex hauled him up, their hands lingering in the wet grip, and for a heartbeat, the rain blurred everything but the heat of Jake's palm against his. "You good?" Alex asked, voice barely audible over the storm. Jake nodded, but his eyes held something new, gratitude laced with unease. "Yeah, just watch your step, okay? I can't lose you out here." The words pierced, simple and profound. Alex murmured agreement, but inside, turmoil brewed. "Lose you?" The irony burned. Jake had no idea how much Alex had already lost, piece by piece, in the quiet erosion of unrequited love. By afternoon, the rain eased, but tension simmered. They stopped at an overlook for lunch, dripping sandwiches wrapped in foil, and Jake finally broached it. "About yesterday, on the ledges. I keep replaying it. If you hadn't grabbed me." He trailed off, rubbing his neck. "I don't say it enough, but your family, man. More than that, even." Alex's sandwich turned to ash in his mouth. Family. The word was a kindness and a cage. "Hey, that's what friends do," he replied, aiming for lightness. But his voice cracked, betraying him. Jake frowned, leaning forward. "No, it's more. You've always been there, the breakups, the job hunts, all of it. Hell, you're the reason I didn't drop out of college. Remember that psych class? You tutored me through the whole semester." Alex did remember. Nights in the dorm, Jake's head on his shoulder as they pored over notes, the scent of his shampoo a torment and a treasure. "We make a good team," he said softly. "Yeah." Jake's gaze dropped to his hands, then back up, searching. "But lately, I don't know, things feel off. Like there's something you're not saying." The rain started again, light but insistent, mirroring the drip of dread in Alex's veins. He could feel the ledge approaching, the point of no return. "It's nothing," he lied, standing abruptly. "Let's keep moving." Storms picking up. They hiked in uneasy quiet, the path twisting through fern-choked gullies. Jake tried jokes, but they fell flat, and Alex's responses were clipped. By the time they reached Alberta Falls, the cascade roaring like pent-up emotion, Jake stopped dead. "Talk to me, Alex. This isn't you. Did I piss you off up there? The slip?" "No." Alex cut in, sharper than intended. Water misted his face, cool against the flush rising in his cheeks. "It's not that complicated." Jake crossed his arms, rain beating on his lashes. "Uncomplicated. We're stuck out here. What, a day and a half from the car? No better time." Alex's resolve frayed, the words bubbling up like the falls themselves. "You want the truth? Fine. I've been in love with you since we were 18, Jake. Every hike, every beer, every goddamn time you've hugged me goodbye. It's been torture and heaven. And yesterday, when you almost fell, I realized I can't keep pretending it's just friendship. Not anymore." The confession hung in the spray, raw and irreversible. Jake's face went slack, eyes widening in a cocktail of shock and something Alex couldn't name. Discomfort? Pity? The silence stretched, broken only by the thunder of water. "Alex!" Jake started, voice hoarse. He stepped closer, then stopped, hands flexing at his sides. Shit. I had no idea." "Of course you didn't," Alex thought bitterly. But aloud, he said nothing, the weight of exposure crushing him. Jake ran a hand through his wet hair, exhaling. "Look, you're my best friend. The closest thing to a brother." "Don't." Alex's voice broke. "Don't say brother. Not now." The hurt flashed across Jake's features, genuine and sharp. "I'm not trying to hurt you. This changes everything. I need time to process." Time. The most American of luxuries. Space to compartmentalize, to file away the messy edges of human hearts. Alex nodded numbly, turning toward the trail. "Yeah, process away." They trudged on, the miles between them widening with every step. Camp that night was a study in avoidance. Jake tending the fire in silence, Alex sketching furiously, lines jagged as his thoughts. Sleep evaded them both, the tent walls thin barriers against the storm of what came next. Dawn broke gray and unforgiving, the kind of light that exposed every crack in the facade. Alex woke to the zip of Jake's tent, the other man already packing with mechanical efficiency. No good morning, no easy banter. Just the rustle of gear and the distant call of a Stellar's jay, mocking their fractured peace. "Morning," Jake said finally, voice neutral as he stuffed his sleeping bag. His eyes flicked to Alex, then away, like touching a bruise. "Coffee?" Alex shook his head, stomach churning. "I'm good. Let's just get through today." The trail out was a slog, 9 miles of switchbacks descending through Glacier Gorge, the beauty of it lost on them. Jake led, setting a brisk pace that left little room for talk. Alex followed, mind replaying the confession in loops. The shock on Jake's face, the hesitation that followed. Betrayal? No, not quite. But the slow poison of realization, that he'd misread their bond, tainted it with his own longing. This was America, after all, land of the free to love who you want, but only if it fit the script. Gay best friend? Sure, in the movies with a tidy arc and applause. In real life, it was awkward silences and averted eyes. They stopped at a clearing for water, the stream gurgling over mossy stones. Jake knelt to fill his bottle, then straightened, facing Alex squarely. "We gotta talk about this." Alex's jaw clenched. "Do we? Because it feels like you already decided." "No." Jake's tone sharpened, frustration edging in. "That's not fair. You drop a bomb like that and I'm supposed to snap my fingers and rewrite 10 years? I'm straight, Alex. Always have been. But that doesn't mean I don't care about you. Deeply." The word straight landed like a slap, clinical and final. Alex laughed, a bitter bark. "Deeply, right? Like a brother." Jake winced. "Don't twist it. You're twisting everything." "Am I?" Heat rose in Alex's chest, the dam cracking wider. "Or are you just scared? Scared that maybe you've felt it too, the way we've always clicked, the inside jokes no one else gets." "Admit it, Jake." Those hugs lingered. The looks. "You've never had a friendship like this with anyone else." Jake's face flushed, anger sparking. "That's bullshit and you know it. Yeah, we're close, closer than most. But it's not romantic. Not for me." He paced, boots crunching leaves. "God, this is why I avoid this stuff. Feelings get messy. And now our whole friendship's on the line because you couldn't keep it locked down." The accusation stung, betrayal twisting like a knife. Locked down, like Alex's love was a glitch, a flaw in the system. "Couldn't keep it locked down?" He echoed, voice rising. "Try carrying it for 7 years, Jake. Watching you date women who treated you like an accessory. Biting my tongue every time you vented about finding the one. I was right there, but invisible because I'm not what you pictured." Jake stopped pacing, his expression crumbling into something raw. Guilt, maybe, or the dawning horror of unintended cruelty. "I never meant to make you feel invisible. You're the most important person in my life, Alex. But this is too much. I can't be what you need." The words echoed the canyon walls, amplifying the ache. Alex turned away, fists balled, fighting tears. This was the climax he dreaded. Not the peak, but the plummet, where hidden feelings collided with hard realities. In the vastness of the Rockies, their conflict felt both epic and intimate, two men grappling with the unbridgeable gap between heart and habit. They hiked on in brittle silence, the tension coiling tighter with each mile. By midday, fatigue amplified everything. The rub of wet boots, the growl of empty stomachs, the unspoken accusations hanging like storm clouds. At Dream Lake, they paused for lunch, the water's sapphire clarity a cruel contrast to the murk between them. Jake broke first, tossing an energy bar Alex's way. Truce? For the sake of getting home. Alex caught it, the gesture small but seismic. Truce, he muttered, unwrapping it mechanically. They ate in semi-companionable quiet, the wind whispering through the willows. Then Jake sighed, leaning back on his pack. Tell me about it. When did it start? The feelings. The question disarmed him. An olive branch extended over the abyss. Alex hesitated, then let the story spill, halting at first, then in a rush. The night of their college graduation party, when Jake, drunk on cheap tequila, had draped an arm around him and whispered, "Couldn't have done it without you, man." The road trip to Yellowstone, sharing a motel bed when the reservations botched, Alex lying awake to the rhythm of Jake's breath. The quiet mornings after Jake's breakups, when Alex would brew coffee and listen, heartbreaking for them both. Jake listened without interrupting, his face a map of emotions. Surprise, sorrow, a flicker of wonder. Damn, he said when Alex finished, voice thick. I was blind. Completely. You're not blind, Alex said gently. Just straight. And that's okay. It has to be. But as they packed up, Jake's hand brushed Alex's in the gear shuffle. An accidental touch that lingered, charged. Jake pulled back, but not before Alex saw the confusion in his eyes, the first crack in his certainty. The afternoon brought the storm they dodged yesterday, thunder rumbling like distant artillery. They pushed for the trailhead, rain lashing sideways, turning the path to a river of mud. Visibility zeroed out, and in the chaos, Jake slipped again. This time on a route hidden by leaves, his ankle twisting with a sickening pop. Shit! He yelped, crumpling to the ground, clutching his leg. Alex dropped beside him, heart lurching. Let me see. The ankle swelled fast, purple blooming under the skin. Sprain at worst, maybe fractured. Either way, he couldn't bear weight. It's fine, Jake gritted, trying to stand and buckling. Pain etched his features, but it was the vulnerability that hit Alex hardest. The mighty Jake felled. No, it's not. Alex rigged a splint from his trekking pole and Jake's bandana, hands steady despite the storm. Lean on me. We'll get you down. The descent became a three-legged dance, Alex half-carrying Jake over the slick terrain. Rain plastered their clothes, cold seeping to the bone, but the physical strain was nothing compared to the emotional tether holding them together. Jake's arms slung over Alex's shoulders, his weight a trusted burden, and in the downpour, barriers blurred. Thanks, Jake murmured after a grueling switchback, breath ragged against Alex's ear. Again, you're always saving my ass. Alex's laugh was watery, lost in the gale. Someone's gotta. As the trailhead lights flickered into view, civilization with its ambulances and awkward goodbyes, Jake tightened his grip. Alex, about what you said. I'm scared. Not of you, of what this means. For us. The admission cracked something open, raw and hopeful. Me too, Alex whispered. But maybe that's the point. Facing it. They emerged from the woods like survivors of a shipwreck, Jake's truck waiting like a reluctant witness. Alex flagged a ranger who radioed for medics. As they waited under the shelter, Jake's hand found Alex's. Not in friendship, but in a tentative squeeze that spoke volumes. The betrayal had been in the silence, the unseeing years. But here, in the aftermath, possibility stirred. A fragile bloom in the rocky soil. The ER in Estes Park was a fluorescent purgatory, all beeping monitors and harried nurses with Colorado drawls. Jake's ankle was a bad sprain, no break, thank God. but the doc ordered crutches and a week off his feet. Ice it, elevate, and for Pete's sake, no more heroics on those ledges, she said, scribbling a script with a wink. Alex sat in the vinyl chair beside the gurney, nursing a styrofoam cup of coffee that tasted like regret. The adrenaline crash left him hollow, the confession's echoes reverberating in the sterile hum. Jake, propped on pillows, looked smaller somehow. Vulnerable in the hospital gown, his bravado stripped away. "You didn't have to stay," Jake said after the nurse left, fiddling with the crutch propped against the bed. "I could have called my sister." Alex set the cup down, meeting his gaze. "Yeah, I did. That's how this works, remember? Team." Jake's smile was tentative, laced with the weight of their summit and fall. "Team. Yeah." He paused, the room thickening. "Alex, I spent all night thinking about what you said, about us." Here it came, the verdict, delivered in the impersonal glow of recovery. Alex braced, heart a drum in his throat. "And," Jake exhaled, slow and deliberate, "I'm not gonna lie, it's freaking me out. I've never questioned anything. Girls, sports, the whole package. But you're different. Always have been." He reached out, hesitating before covering Alex's hand with his own warm, calloused, real. "That pull you talked about? I feel it too. Not sure what it means yet. Maybe it's just love. The deep kind. Beyond labels." The words landed soft as snow, thawing the ice in Alex's chest. Not a full embrace, but an opening. A crack in the straight-line world, letting in the light of ambiguity. Tears pricked Alex's eyes, unbidden. "That's all I ever wanted. For you to see me." "I see you," Jake said fiercely, squeezing his hand. "I always did. Just didn't know what I was looking at." The drive back to Denver was quiet. Not the strained silence of the trail, but a companionable hush. Jake's foot braced on the dash, country radio murmuring low. They stopped at a roadside diner in Lyons, the kind with checkered floors and pie under glass domes, and over black coffee and cherry slices, the real talk began. Jake admitted the fears. His conservative folks in Aurora, the buddies who'd crack jokes about playing for the other team. "It's not them," he said, stirring sugar absently. "It's me, unpacking a lifetime of shoulds. But losing you? That's not an option. Whatever this is, friendship more, we'll figure it." Alex nodded, the knot in his chest loosening for the first time in days. One step at a time, like the trail. Back in the city, life resumed its rhythm with adjustments. Jake crashing on Alex's couch in the Lodo loft, crutches clacking like Morse code. Alex worked from home, drafting elevations for an eco-resort in Aspen, stealing glances at Jake sprawled with his laptop, debugging code between episodes of their shared obsession, The West Wing. Nights were tentative explorations, board games that dissolved into laughter, takeout Thai where confessions flowed easier than pad CEW. One evening, 2 weeks post-trip, as snow flurried past the windows, Denver's first dusting, Jake crouched over, settling beside Alex on the couch. "Hey, remember that house I mentioned? In the foothills?" Alex glanced up from his sketch, eyebrow arched. "The one with the dog yard?" "Yeah." Jake's voice was steady, eyes intent. "What if it's not just mine? What if we built it? Together. No rush, no labels. Just us." The proposal hung, simple and profound, a blueprint for something new, humanistic in its imperfection. Not a fairy tale fix, but a real American story. Two guys, scarred by secrets and slips, choosing the climb anyway. Alex's heart swelled. Love no longer a shadow, but a shared path. "I'd like that," he said, leaning in. Their foreheads touched, breaths mingling. Not a kiss, not yet, but a promise. In the quiet, with the city lights twinkling like distant stars, Alex felt the mountains echo. Exposure wasn't the end, but the beginning. Months blurred into a gentle thaw. Jake's ankle healed, their hikes shorter but sweeter. Easy loops around Boulder Creek, hands brushing without apology. He started therapy, unpacking the straitjacket of expectations, emerging with questions that led to coffee dates with a guy from his climbing gym. Alex cheered him on, his own heart mending through vulnerability. A tentative app profile, a first awkward meetup that ended in friendship, not fireworks. But the core held them. They broke ground on a tiny cabin outside Netherlands, Alex's designs blending into the pines. Solar panels, a wraparound porch for stargazing, space for whatever came next. Jake's dog, a mutt named Summit, bounded through the framing, tail wagging chaos. On the first night under the half-built roof, fireflies dancing in the meadow, Jake pulled Alex close by the pit fire. To missteps, he toasted with a s'more, marshmallow gooey on his fingers. To hidden feelings, Alex replied, clinking his mug. Their lips met then, soft, exploratory, tasting of chocolate and chance. No fanfare, just two souls aligning after the storm. It wasn't perfect. Doubts lingered, societal side-eyes from old crowds. But in the humanistic heart of it, they chose grace. Forgiving the blindness, honoring the bond. America's mountains had tested them, exposed the fractures. In the rebuild, they found not just romance, but redemption. A story of love's quiet revolutions, where one turn could lead anywhere, as long as you held on.